I pulled out my fan subconsciously because I just do it for all the recordings now, and I'm like, nope, we're just gonna.
Well, that's fine. We don't do that here, but great.
Maybe I
We
do.
don't do
Lana.
that here.
We look. We
Maybe
don't
I
do that. We don't do that here. But welcome. Hold on. Something's already wrong,
I
and
got it. I
something's
got it. I got
already
it.
missing
I
because
got it.
there we go. Welcome to the Cup TV, where we put the welcome to the Cup TV, where we put the real and the tea in reality, and where you can always come here first to quench your reality thirst. I am your girl Lana, your resident diva, here to give the tea, spill the tea, and drink the tea because you know I love me some tea per. And if you have some tea notes to hit me up, right now I am drinking strawberry, orange sun kiss, not strawberry. It's orange sun kiss because I have it. I bought it, so I'm gonna drink it, and there we go. But if I was drinking something out of a cup, it would be my cup mug. Because all the cool kids have one, as you see. And if you should get you one too. You should get you one at lanagcreations.etsy.com, where you can get our cup mug and all of our cup merch and other things that I have on my shop. So check it out.
And I'm David Healy, and my claim to fame for this week is when I was a kid, I went to a Paul McCartney concert, and I drew a little picture for Paul McCartney, and my mom gave it to somebody, and I got a letter back from Paul McCartney himself saying he appreciated my picture. So I'm basically connected to a Beatle. So
period. That's awesome.
And I am drinking water.
Period.
And I'm Logan Murphy to say something gay. Gay, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm drinking some strawberry peach tea because it's real good. I decided to make an appearance here on Claim to Fame again because
I should have more camera time.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. I mean, who
are
is
you?
Who is this? Who just jumped into our podcast?
Are y'all talking about me?
Yes.
Who are you? Like somebody just intruded into our podcast. Who are you?
A hot new bombshell has entered the villa. Sorry, I had to.
Boom, boom. Hey, y'all. I'm Josh. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. I'm just excited to talk about Claim to Fame and chat with, Lana, David, and Logan. It's been a while. David, you said your claim to fame. I'll say mine. One time I checked in somebody when I was working at Disney, and I was like, "What's your name?" He was like, "Josh," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "What's your last name?" And he's like, "Gad." I was like, "All right, you're all checked in." And he just walks away, and I'm just sitting there after I checked him in. I was like, "Wait a minute." I didn't realize who he was. I was like, he's the whole snowman from Frozen. He's Olaf. And I go on my little mic and I'm like, y'all, Josh got just checked in. So yeah, that's all I got.
And I did not realize who he was.
What are you drinking?
And I'm drinking water. And it's my Synergy water bottle from an LRG I participated in last week. Don't ask me how I did.
Oh no!
I will say, I got third boot, and I lost the buyback. But my bestie Lance, let me grab this. Shout out to Lance. We were Scorpio intuition.
Yes, Lance.
So we both got third boot, but he won the buyback and got a hybrid partner because I lost the buyback. And I will say I didn't win a single competition in that game, not one. But I was safe 2 rounds out of the 3 rounds I was there.
Oh, per.
Special game was unlocked, baby. You got the save.
Scared.
One couple each round you got the save. Round 1, I made sure I was talking. They saved me and Lance. Round 2, it was Lance's besties that won, and they were MVP. They saved us. And in round 3, I wasn't so lucky. But you know what? I'm just happy to be podcasting with y'all. So.
Period.
I was just in St. Louis with Lance, like at the same time, but I didn't know he was there until I left because we went to see the same show. We both saw
no.
Rent, but I was like, oh, I wish I had seen
Damn.
him. Also,
Aw.
Josh, how did you get into Claim to Fame? I'm curious.
I think just last year, just seeing what it was about.
There wasn't a person who recommended it to you?
Was it you? Because I
Was
completely
me.
forgot. Like, look, it's been
Not
David.
David fishing for a compliment.
It's been a whole ass year. You're setting me up. No, I'm very forgetful. I really am. And anyone who knows me knows I'm very forgetful. I'm sorry, David.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But David did get me into Claim to Fame.
Allegedly.
I got the receipts.
It's the credit. It's the credit.
Okay,
Sure.
well, let me say, this is not my claim to fame because I want to give a claim to fame, but it's not my claim to fame because Josh's story reminded me of something. It's my sister's claim to fame. Shout out to Nisha.
Close
This is your
enough.
claim to
Yes,
right. My sister.
Nisha.
But she was in Virginia, and she was at a convention, and she had sprained her ankle before she left. So she was sitting in the lobby, just sitting there, and her friends were off doing their thing. She was sitting there, and a man walked up to her, and he was like, "Oh, hey, I see you sitting over here by yourself, and are you okay?" And she said, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm good. Just sitting, waiting on my friends." And he was like, "Oh, okay." He said, "I'm Nas," and she was like, "Oh, hi, I'm Nisha. Nice to meet you." And they sat and they talked for a little bit. And she was like, "Oh, okay." She was like, "Oh, he seems like a nice person." And then all of a sudden, people started running up to him and was like, "Oh my God," freaking out. And she was like, "Who is this person? I don't know him." And so when she came back, and she said after so many, he was like, "Okay, I got to go." And he told her he was nice to meet her, and he just walked away and left. And so she was like, came home and told me this story, and I was like, "You didn't know who Nas was?" And she was like, "No, I have no idea." I was like, "Nas, Mr. Illmatic himself, Nas." This was in the realm when he was beefing with Jay-Z, and it was like huge news. It was in the huge Jay-Z Nas beef era. And she was like, "I didn't know who he was." I freaked out, and I was like, "Oh my God, you didn't know who Nas was?" I was like, "You didn't know who Nas?" She's like, "I didn't know, but he seems like a nice man." I was like, "Good to know. Good to know."
Well,
So Nas was concerned about my sister's ankles, which is great.
That's good.
That's
It was
good.
beautiful.
Well, I guess since everyone else shared one, I thought of one because I was like, I was working DragCon this year, and just like as one does apparently, and out of nowhere, my friend was like, "Oh my God," didn't even say anything, ran off, and the next thing I know, I look up, and Chrissy Chapleka from TikTok was like 10 feet away from me. So I got to talk to her, and she's incredible. And she told my friend to run over his ex with a car because that's what she does on TikTok. And
Okay.
I don't know where the photos I have with Chrissy Chapleka are. I literally cannot find them on anyone's phone that I was with in that moment.
Well,
But I met Chrissy Chapleka, so.
good for you.
And she was as nice as you could imagine. Truly wonderful and phenomenal.
And we all definitely know who she is.
Oh, she's like the bimbo of TikTok.
Wait a minute.
I'm upset now. Well, it's just like nobody knows.
Wait, do you know who it is, Josh?
Nope.
Of course I do.
Oh, y'all are hateful ass motherfuckers.
I'm sure if I saw their face.
Hold on.
We don't have time. We have to talk about claim to fame. Yeah, still no. Josh,
Really?
Josh, you know her? Yeah, still no.
So the last episode of Claim to
Claim to
know her.
Fame,
I'm just
episode
gonna go.
episode 7 of Claim to Fame. Because we just lost Olivia. Because she guessed wrong and she had to go. And everybody's like, "Wow, now we're at this playing field because we don't know who we know everybody's very scared of Chris in this moment because Chris has everybody's clue. Chris has a lot of information. Chris knows everything about everybody except Gabriel because Gabriel is the last clue that's left. And everybody is like, we got to get our hands on this clue. We got to figure out how we get Chris out of this house because we don't know who he is, who his relative is. We don't know who his relative is. And they were trying to figure it out. They just had no idea. And then, because they thought it was, Chris has been guessed. They thought it was, who was the first one I guessed him as?
Elvis.
Elvis. Yeah, they thought it was Elvis.
It was Elvis.
They were very convinced. And it was Jane who had everybody convinced it was Elvis. I was like,
it was Elvis. And then it was
Nicolas Cage.
Jim Carrey.
Then it was Jim Carrey. And so they're like, we don't know. It's just, and then Hugo and Monet are talking in the bedroom, and they're talking, and then something clicks to Hugo, and he was like, "Oh, I know who it is. I know who it is." And they're like, "Who? Who is it?" Elton John. And I was like,
I'm so happy that I'm back talking about Claim to Fame because I just am so obsessed with how strong and wrong everyone has been on this season. Like that, I love it. I'm such a big fan of it. It's like season 1, it's like, I felt like people were a lot more methodical with the way that they thought about things. And I'm not saying that the season hasn't been, but what I am saying is that these people will go, "Oh my God," and then run with it and literally not acknowledge anything else that it could be. Anything else.
They go to that clue wall and they justify their wrongness in every way possible. They're like, and no, because see, look, this is a baby. And this represents the baby who is related to JR. Because JR had a pacifier now, so it got to be the baby. It gotta be. And
newsflash, y'all: the spaceman has been Neil deGrasse Tyson since week 2.
Time. But it could be Rocket Man too.
I thought it was Tom Hanks because he was in Apollo 13.
It could be.
It's probably both.
It could be both. Like it could be some interchangeable ones, I'm sure. But what I'm like, we justify like Elton John because look, the tiny dancer shoes, and then we have the piano, which we already said was Alicia Keys, but okay, we got the piano. Could be both. We got the music sheets, and then we got Rocket Man in the corner.
Oh.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves because
I just had to throw that out there. I had to throw that out there because I know I was out of order, but I had to throw that out there because it was just so crazy. Okay, but because at first, Monet did think it was Billy Idol.
Billy Idol, and it's like
Billy Idol, and I was like, Billy Idol, because they were focused on the colorful coats of it all. It was like Billy Idol.
They took the Idol,
right?
Idol, literal.
They took it literal. Like it could be an
what
idol.
universe would they do such a literal clue like that?
I mean,
I wouldn't put it past them, but
well, to be fair, all of the clues in the bottles have been basically spelling out exactly who everyone is. But apparently these people literally don't know pop culture. Like they couldn't have picked a more out of touch cast, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, everybody is. Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was gonna change subjects to how the episode started with Gabriel and Chris.
Oh, okay.
Because I always like to talk about them because they're my two favorites this season. But yeah, we start the episode with them talking about who JR could be related to, and they have that clue, and they've really settled on Lil Nas X for him, and they both agree to that. And then pretty much immediately it cuts to each of them kind of talking about how they don't know if they can trust each other. Chris is thinking about like how he needs to get Gabriel out soon. and Gabriel is nervous about Chris, but he wants to keep his friends close and his enemies closer. So I just really like seeing the evolution of their dynamic, because it's kind of had like a roller coaster. It went up, 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 and I think this is the episode where we start to see them go downhill.
Oh yeah.
I think it's the part of the game where it's like everybody is now starting to think like, I have to figure out things for myself. I gotta start making my end game plans. And so I think, yeah, all that time they were helping each other out. It was good, but then it was like, but do I want to sit in the end with this person? Because Gabriel still does not know who Chris's person is.
Right.
And we'll
Yeah.
Yeah. Gabriel still has no idea.
Oh, Josh, we know who everybody's related to. So if
Yeah,
you
I know
don't,
who everybody's related to.
I think we mentioned Chris yesterday when we were talking about Chris. The only other person I don't know is Monet.
that's the
Oh.
toughest one. So I can
Yeah,
see.
Monet is the toughest one.
Yes.
I found out who Gabriel was last night
Mhm.
when he was talking about it. That was pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
And same with JR. So
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, once they was talking about, which is, well, we'll talk about it later. I don't want to jump too far here, but it was interesting. And I said before, like, Monet is like halfway sure about, I think everybody is sure about Carson. They're like, since they guessed wrong and it wasn't Jeff Gordon, I think everybody settled on, okay, well, we know who Carson's person is. If it's not Jeff Gordon, it got to be this other person.
And she's fully admitting that she's related to a NASCAR driver now. She tells that story to Monet about her relative getting in a wreck. Well, kind of getting in a wreck, but more the other cars, I guess, spiraled.
The gag of that too, I remember watching that when it happened.
Oh, really?
Because I used to watch NASCAR a lot with my family.
Oh, Mask?
What? Oh yes, Totes Mask. No, the most Mask thing about me, I actually really enjoy car racing. It's really weird.
And sports, you do like sports.
I'm literally wearing an Orlando City jersey right now.
Could never be me.
No, I love sports actually, which is like the wildest thing. But no, I remember watching that where Dale Earnhardt crashes, and then he's fine, and I think it was like a 20 car pileup during qualifying for some race years ago. But I remember that for some reason. I was always a Danica Patrick fan, so I root for the women because there were like two.
right. It wasn't
two if we're lucky, but
yeah, they Chris and Carson actually makes a deal to share Gabriel's clue if one of them wins it. And at this point, Carson's like, I don't really know about Chris, but I gotta trust him at least a little bit to share this clue, because he hadn't been very open about sharing his clues before. And so she's like, I will see. But then they go to the
challenge.
The challenge. And Gabriel's advantage for winning the last challenge was he gets to pick teams for this challenge. And he put his teams or choices were him and Chris, Carson and JR, and Monet and Hugo.
And Monet is pressed.
She's
not even hiding it.
She's like,
hiding. She's mad. She's like,
what are you saying, Kevin? What are you saying?
She's like, I'm pissed. Like, literally mad. I was like, girl.
Yeah.
I love Monet. Monet is my favorite character from this season, hands down, no question. Her reaction.
Gabriel right there.
Monet is my favorite, point blank and period. Anyway,
I would have been upset too, especially because like her and Gabriel are working pretty closely in the house along with JR. Like we said earlier, it's kind of a split house. I don't think they intentionally meant to do it that way, but like it just kind of happened that way.
Yeah.
I think Shane kind of fucked it up. Not Shane, I'm sorry, Cole. Cole. I think Cole was also on that side too. And by targeting Shane, that kind of he also left. But that's neither here or there at this point. That was a few episodes ago. I I do think I would have been upset too if I was Monet.
Yeah, especially since she knows that he has her clue.
That's what
Literally.
I was going to say. I think she was more upset that he has her clue and he wasn't willing to share his clue with her. Like, you don't trust me. I trusted you enough to tell you to pick my clue, but you couldn't trust me enough to let me pick your clue.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That
She would have
doesn't make
clocked
any
it too.
Yeah, she would have clocked it. And I think he knew that because the second
Mhm.
she saw all them kids, she would have been like,
Oh, 100%.
100% know who this is.
Yeah.
She would have clocked it. But
I will say my favorite part of the challenge itself, with all the shredding and whatnot, my favorite part is Hugo's looking at at JR's clue, and he just in confessional goes, "Is Dwayne Wade gay?" Favorite.
I was like,
because
these
I
kids don't know
forgot that
nothing
they
about
were.
sports.
I forgot that they were so obsessed with the fact, strong and wrong. Once again,
Strong
they're
and
like,
wrong.
no, JR's related to Dwayne Wade. And to be fair, for a while, I also thought that way until we figured out who it was.
I didn't ever think that because his first clue, he wasn't born in Chicago. He was born in California. And I was like, well, Dwayne, that's definitely not Dwayne Wade because Dwayne Wade was born in
two of them were
Chicago.
true and one of them was a lie. Okay, Lana,
Well, no, I was not even talking about the two truths and the lie. I was like, when they played that game and they had the reveal, they were like, his home. He was from.
I figured it out.
He was from Chicago. He was from like California or something. And I was like, oh, definitely not Dwayne Wade, but I already knew who it was by then. But they was convinced it was Dwayne Wade. And so when him saying, "Is Dwayne Wade gay?" And I was like, bro, I was like, first of all, you don't even know who Dwayne Wade is. He's married to Gabrielle Union. Right now. Right now.
It's still a valid question.
Right now. Even if it wouldn't be out as first LGBTQ nothing if he was not out. He's married to Gabrielle Union. Right now.
Do you think he would out himself on the show? Because I don't think he would. That's one.
Absolutely not.
Married to Gabrielle Union right
and
now.
a beautiful daughter, and I don't think he would really want to take away.
I don't think so. Right. I'm just saying.
Now, if they would have said,
"You're not," I think
I child.
Logan,
I'm just being dumb. I'm just being dumb.
Right, you're definitely right. Wrong scenario, though. That's just.
I agree with you.
I'm about to say now, if they would have said has a daughter who is a part of the community. Sure, it could still be Dwayne Wade, possibly, but
not Dwayne.
No, it's not Dwayne Wade.
Not at all.
But
not at all.
Speaking of JR, so he doesn't even bother reading the clues for Gabriel because he says he's 100% sure that he's related to Julius Peppers.
Mm-hmm.
So
wrong.
But that brings up a question I have for you all. I want to know your opinion. So in this challenge, they have pretty revealing clues on the back of these pictures.
Yeah.
Would you all think it's more important to actually read those clues or win the immunity? I mean, it's not even immunity. Yeah, win the clue for Gabriel. And
I'm reading everything because even if I don't win, I need to know everything just in case I have to guess.
Yeah.
I think if I was Gabriel, I would try to win. I mean, which we saw. Everyone else, I would have just been looking at clues. The reason for Gabriel to win the challenge is because it's his clue, and he picked a partner who saw the clue and had no idea who it was. I think Gabriel actually played it smart.
Yeah, he was very smart. Very smart.
I think it would depend on A, where I was in the house, and B, how I was doing in the challenge.
Yeah.
Because if my team is the first to finish the first round of stuff,
right,
I'm gonna glance very quickly, especially if it's someone that I have absolutely no clue about. I'm gonna glance very quickly, shred that, and move on to the second round to try to win.
Right.
That's what I would have done at least. Because if it's me and I see Chris is up there and I have no clue who Chris is because I'm in the house and nobody in the house knows who Chris's relative is, apparently. I'm gonna take a look at Chris's clue for just a hot second, But yeah, I think it would all be situational for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. Yeah, I think it's probably more valuable to get the clues, since really, like, if this had immunity with it, yeah, that might help. But really, all you're doing is picking somebody else's fate, and they could just as easily call you up there and guess your
Right.
relative. So
Right.
Yeah, so we go through the challenge, and of course, the winners. I think we already touched on it a little bit, but the winners of the challenge is Gabriel and Chris. Let
my
me move this.
faves.
So we're not going to cover Josh up that long. Let's
I was like,
move.
don't do that to Josh.
That's why I said just a minute. We got to show the banner, but we'll move it. So it's Gabriel and Chris. Gabriel's happy because now he gets to get his clue, but he still has to get Chris to look at it with him. But he trusts Chris.
Yeah.
To an extent. He trusts Chris enough to be like, all right, you go look at it. And I think it was smart for him to pick this because of the fact that what we said, that he kind of figured Chris probably wouldn't get it, wouldn't know who his person is, even with the clue, which is interesting.
And I
But
think
Very interesting that he doesn't know at all
he doesn't know at all.
Chris's relative is. Even like that clue is
the most obvious clue of any clue we've seen this season.
Mhm. I
Like-
agree.
Next to Monet's.
Wait,
Next to
whose clue is
Monet's.
Gabriel's clue or
Gabriel's
Chris's?
Yeah,
clue.
Gabriel's
Okay.
clue.
Well, I still don't know Monet's like 100%. Like 100%.
We'll talk about it later.
100%. Yeah, we'll talk about it on our spoilers time. But yeah,
And we have
it-
the decision on who to have in the bottom.
in the bottom. And so Hugo was like, put me in.
Put me in,
Put
coach.
me in. Put me in, coach. I want to go in. And I'm like, okay.
Maybe.
Which
And he was
makes
like,
Gabriel's decision easy.
Very easy. Gabriel's like, I pick him because I don't want to pick nobody else. So I pick
Gabriel
him.
is very entertaining. I'm loving
Yes.
Gabriel for
Yeah,
sure.
Gabriel's funny. But he's like, I'm gonna pick him. And so Chris, who you picking? And Chris is like, do I gotta say it right now?
Like,
And he's
I
like,
don't
no, you
know.
got time. You got time. Figure it out. But I'm gonna pick Hugo, and so you can decide. And then yeah, everybody, like I said, Hugo feels very confident about Carson. Everybody feels confident about Carson, who she is probably related to. And then I think I jumped the gun earlier, but this is when they decide that they figured out Chris's clue, and he's related to Elton John. They tell Carson, and she asks, is Elton John from Utah? And they're like, yeah, sure. I'm like,
I could not
Wrong
believe a
and
single one of the
wrong.
5 people did not know Elton John is British.
I was like, he is all from the UK. He has never been. He probably ain't
He's a
never
whole
been
ass
to
British
Utah.
citizen.
He probably don't even know what Utah is.
No, probably he does because he's had a Vegas residency and Nevada's right next to
Yeah, but
right
that
right
don't mean he
there,
wanted to
but
go to Utah. He probably went to Utah
who
to go
wants
skiing.
to go to Utah?
You go to Utah to go skiing. You go to
Could've been
Utah to go
Denver for
skiing.
that.
He's probably
You
in
can go to
Salt
Northern
Lake.
Arizona and do that.
You can go to Salt Lake for the skiing, and then Denver is also. But Salt Lake is a pretty good skiing kind of town, so maybe.
Yeah, it seems like the catalyst here was that there's a clue about a colorful coat.
Colorful coats.
So everybody was really caught up on that. At first, they even thought that could be Billy Idol because Billy Idol had flamboyant outfits, but then they really got stuck on this Elton John. But the whole time I'm screaming because
Joseph
I
and the
very
Technicolor
well
Dreamcoat.
remember.
I'm screaming.
Yes.
I'm screaming.
Yes.
I'm like,
And
surely somebody would know.
But Gabriel, after they tell Gabriel that they think it's Elton John because of the colorful coats, Gabriel's like, I mean, are we stuck on that? Are we sure about this? And they're like, yeah, because who else could it be? Who else had colorful coats? And Gabriel said, Joseph. They're like,
Who?
oh, Joseph? He was
who?
like, from the Bible. And I'm like, oh, Gabriel, you're so great. I'm
silly.
like, he's not wrong, but
Y'all
you
need to listen to this whole ass man because this whole ass man is onto something.
This whole ass man didn't even know that he was onto it.
I
He
know,
was
but
joking.
he's unintentionally almost there. Like,
if you just listen, like, I was like, oh my God, Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Dreamcoat.
It is Joseph from the Bible, and it is a thing, but you just had to keep digging, dig a little deeper, like dig a little deeper, and you could come up. I mean, this is my ode to Tiana and the Princess and the Frog. Dig a little deeper, just
And it even
dig,
it even
dig a
had
little
Andrew Lloyd
deeper.
Webber as a known associate who wrote Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Dig
Are
a
you
little
familiar
deeper.
with this, Josh? I know
No.
you're younger, so you
Oh,
you don't know.
no.
No, and
I
that's
mean, Joseph
fine.
and the, I mean,
It's a
Joseph and the
beautiful
Technicolor
musical.
Dreamcoat is a Broadway play. It's a beautiful play. I know about it
And
because
Donny Osmond starred in
Donny
it.
Osmond was very big in this play. Like it's one of his first huge things
Kind of
in
like
in
his first
Broadway.
big thing, honestly. Like
In
as far, yeah.
Broadway, and it was he did a really great performance in that play for a long time. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is great, but again, I'm like, I can't be mad at these kids because these are kids. They don't really they don't know about Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, and they don't
Josh is like,
know,
me too. I'm a kid.
which is fine.
The only
But
reason
I
I know
bet
about
Josh
is
knew. I know Josh knew Elton John wasn't from Utah.
I
Right.
did know that.
I'm
I
just
good.
didn't know that Elton John was not from Utah. Like that's just common.
common sense would have just like stop.
Yeah.
No, it's not him.
My high school
But
did Joseph. That's how I know about it. So
my sister who I mentioned earlier, she went to a
Everyone knows
Broadway.
this Joseph play musical, but me. Like, is this actually about like Joseph from like
The Bible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably why I don't know.
valid and understandable. I went to
Very
Broadway,
valid.
I'm not a big
so-
Bible guy, I'll admit.
Yeah,
So,
me either.
That's fine. Totally fine. But it was a good play. It was a good play, I will say. But they asked so they said that
this is when we get into the clue. Do we have the Rebus puzzle for this?
I did not
Okay,
take a
that's
picture of
fine.
it.
Baby, baby, baby,
It's lots of
baby,
babies.
drumline.
Yes. And then
And the star.
this is where Gabriel is like,
Drumline star.
anybody who's been paying attention to the news knows that my relative has been having
Push it up.
Baby after baby after baby after baby.
after baby.
David, I'm gonna need you to pull the baby after baby after baby after
Okay.
baby audio because I need it for certain. I don't know what circumstances we're gonna need it for, but I would like to have it on hand. Thank you.
Fair.
All I know is that I'm like, when I saw the clue, I was like, oh, ain't no way he's not gonna know who this is. He definitely gotta guess it. And Chris was like, and it was so funny because Chris played it off so good. I will give it to him.
Yeah.
When he was sitting next to Gabriel was like, you know, don't you? He was like, oh yeah, of course.
I got a pretty good idea.
Is this when you figured it out, Josh?
yeah. I was like,
Okay.
and my first instinct was like, has he met,
Mhm.
her?
Yeah.
Because he has,
Mhm.
babies with her. He had his, I think, first two babies with her. So
I believe so. Yeah, the first
I'm
two.
sure. Yeah, definitely his first two babies with her.
he had to have met.
I'm sure he's met her because they were married. They are brothers, so I'm
Yeah.
sure they've been at some family
An old
functions
sister,
together.
an ex-sister-in-law. So
So
Oh, for context for our audio listeners, Josh has a Mariah Carey poster on their wall.
Yes.
So we do have audio listeners.
It's not just any
Not
Mariah
just
Carey
any.
Not just
poster.
any.
It is from her Butterfly era, one of her best albums.
For
and she did
sure.
release a 25 anniversary version of that album with some extended tracks. I highly recommend. Back to Claim to Fame.
I will just say, if you all don't know, to all of our listeners, Josh is a Mariah Carey super fan, and I love it. And I love that
biggest
for him.
Mariah Carey superfan I've ever met.
Look, it is a show that I need you to go on, Josh, because it's on CBS now, and they have Superfan, and I need you to be on that show when they do Mariah Carey Superfan because
there's some Mariah stuff I'm not familiar with. I'd have to brush up on some stuff.
bone up on it, baby. It's called boning up on it. But yeah, then we get to So Chris plays it off like I know. I pretty much know who your clue is. He gets to confessional and he's like, I have no idea who this is, and I'm gonna need help. And this man goes to the only white woman left in this house to try to get this clue on who this black man is related to.
Oh.
And she said it like, what the heck do all these babies got to do with anything? What? I was like, but see, the problem is Chris has been playing it so close to the vest, and nobody on the other side of the house really trusts him. And he knows if he goes to Monet and asks for this help for this clue, Monet is going to turn around and tell Gabriel,
Absolutely.
Chris showed me your clue. And Chris is like, and Gabriel will be like, oh, I thought we weren't doing that when we weren't supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that will tear a hole between Chris and Gabriel Chris has no idea who he is. Now, so Monet would know.
Go to the one person
who won't say anything.
The one person that Gabriel's really not connected to, and that is
exactly. But she has no idea. She's looking at this clue. She was like, I don't know who this person is. I don't.
Yeah, it's kind of too bad for Chris that he didn't share it with Hugo, because I feel like almost anybody else could have got this. But he made that deal with Hugo that if he picks Carson and calls out her claim to fame, then he'll share Gabriel's clue with Hugo. So it just never came to that because, as we saw, the whole house was plotting against Chris, and Gabriel was very happy to just let him be a victim and lose his ally.
Okay, for sure, because he's like, if he goes, he's the only person who knows my clue. He can go. And I'm like, I'm here for that. I understand. That makes sense to me.
Do y'all think Hugo would have actually known who Chris was?
No, he didn't know. Oh, you talking about Gabriel?
Gabriel. Do you think he actually would have known who?
I don't know if he would know.
I think
David think he would. I don't know if he would.
I just think it's so obvious, like, especially like, I don't know, all those babies. It would be one of the first thing I would think of.
It's Hugo's age for me, though.
Yes, that's me.
He's a 2000s baby, so.
But that's recent news. Like, that's been within the past couple of years.
But Carson didn't know, and Chris don't know.
Yeah. So as recent as it is, if you're not following, and it's not like it's news either. Like, it's not like it's breaking news. Nick can't.
It made Entertainment Weekly.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing, though, David. I don't think he would have known because these people are not very in tune with this pop culture life. Like, it just took what's the face was very determined that JR was related to the baby, and they just got off of that. I don't even know if she really off of that yet. She still might be convinced he related to the baby, and I don't know. It's just like I don't. And I'm gonna say this, and it might sound bad, but I don't care. I'm gonna say it. It seems like the white people on this show don't know who the black people is on the show, and the black people on this show don't know who the white people are on the show. This is like we just don't know who each other people. We like I don't watch that. We just don't know.
Then again, though, I mean, the white people aren't knowing who the white people are because Hugo didn't know who Chris was. Olivia didn't know who Carson was. So I just think, besides Chris, that side of the house is just kind of flopping. With the exception of Carson. Carson hasn't really been in that mess. I don't think we talk about Carson enough, just in general, because I do think she's playing a very undercover game, and she's letting people just kind of fall into these traps. So
the one time I was nervous for Carson is when she told Chris that she knew who the other house was going to guess, and they're wrong. And I'm like, well, then if you're telling him they're wrong, now you just gave him the ammo to know exactly who you are. Like, I'm like, you figure it out when they guessed it and it's wrong, and you'll see.
She trusted him, though.
She trusted him, though. And so it is what it is. But we get to the voters' booths because, we're at this point. And everybody was like, we know what we're doing. We voting Hugo because we don't trust Chris. So we go vote Hugo to be the guesser. And that's what they did. Hugo is the guesser. There's Hugo guessing. And who he guessed? He guessed Chris.
Chris was blindsided.
Chris was blindsided. He was like, what? I've been played. I'm like, have you, Chris? Have you been played? Because you didn't think they would go try to come after you when you have everybody's clue. Everybody's scared of you. Everybody's like, no, absolutely not,
Well,
Chris.
Jokes on everybody else.
Because they vote. I mean, they vote. Hugo goes in and he picks Chris, and Chris, he says, I know who your person is. Your famous relative is Elton John. And Chris says,
Chris and his facial expressions, because
like, he
he's
just
like,
held it. And
He's
Chris
so good at holding it.
I know.
held it. He just held it. And so the countdown happens, and it gets the one, and it's like, cheer, 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 cheer. And Chris starts smiling like,
Honestly, I really do. I truly,
oh
I'm just
gosh,
like,
oh
yeah.
gosh.
I want it to happen
Yo,
again.
I want it to
Need it.
happen again
So-
That's the
too.
third time, right? This season.
I was
That
gonna
was
say,
the
there's-
second.
A third time this
gonna say-
season that has happened.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I
For
wanted
me,
three more.
Period. It didn't happen at all in season 1.
I think it happened
I don't
once.
remember season one.
Well, Pepper guessed wrong for old boy in the first episode, but that was after he was already
But
disqualified.
he got disqualified, yeah.
Mm.
Oh, it was so fun. I promise you. I was like, I need to be on that show because I would love to just be there and somebody pick
Mhm.
me, and I'm standing there and they're like, your premise relative is so and so, and it's wrong. I would just be like,
You're like,
no, my reaction would be,
oh no.
and then
If they
when the
got it
countdown
wrong, yeah,
happens,
no,
it's like
100%, I'd be like,
3, 2, 1. I'm like,
I would fully miss Miss Isabel Brooks.
like I would be acting it up like, no, 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 it's not. You can go next. You tried it. You can go. I would laugh the whole time. Like, oh, I think that's the funniest thing. But Chris almost gave me what I wanted. He almost gave me what I wanted. He's still there like, and then he was like,
Oh, no, it happened once on season 1 because that's how Brittany got out.
Yeah.
Oh.
We just said that.
Oh no, I said Pepper.
Brittany
You
guessed Pepper.
Yeah. You said one person left. No. Brittany guessed whatchamacallit,
Brittany
Kai.
guessed someone. Oh, Brittany, yeah, no, that's, yeah.
Brittany guessed Kai. Pepper was in the bottom that round, but
Yeah.
she wasn't selected.
That's
Mhm.
what it
I meant the
was.
first week is when Pepper guessed wrong, but it didn't
Matter.
count since
oh,
Chuck
boy,
Norris's
cheated.
grandson had been eliminated.
Maxwell.
Maxwell,
That's
yeah.
his name.
He cheated.
Can we talk about my favorite part of this episode?
Please do.
Yes. What is your favorite part of the episode?
I honestly started tearing up at the very end when Hugo started talking about his relative. We found out he's related to Jimmy Carter, which we've been known for a long
We've been
time.
new for a minute.
We knew.
But he was just like, he stands for everything that I stand for. He's against all of these bad things. He talked about him being in hospice right now. And he ended it by saying, lead with love. And I was like, that is so sweet. Like, it made me like Hugo even more just to know that he stands for the same things that his grandfather stands for. I could feel the emotion from him. So honestly, I think Jimmy Carter is like one of the last presidents we've had that almost everybody has a respect for. Like there's others that should be unanimously respected, but they're not. But yeah, I thought it was a touching tribute.
It was. I think, yeah, Jimmy Carter is one of the. He was just a good president, and I know I'm old, but I'm not that old. I know who Jimmy Carter was and his presidency was, but he is one of those presidents that you like. Okay, well respected, someone who everybody who even former presidents are like, yeah, he's a stand-up guy. Regardless. And I love the fact that he was like, he did say lead with love, because that's something Jimmy Carter used to always say.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, you just lead with love and everything else will work. Everything else will, turn out right if we lead with love. And so I enjoyed that moment. Hugo was sweet, and you can see the pride when he was talking about his grandfather, and I'm like, that's so sweet. That's love. That's showing. Everybody sees it. It's just great. I enjoyed that. Lead with love, everybody. If you don't know anything else, lead with love. But yeah,
I was a huge, I wouldn't say huge Hugo fan, but I did like Hugo. I liked he was adorable, I thought. When what's her face? Monet didn't want to work with Hugo in the challenge. And then like one scene you see Hugo just like cuddled up in bed, and I'm just like, is he just like not somebody who you can really like communicate with? And like during the challenge, like I think I probably would have been a little frustrated too. Hugo's very nonchalant. He's go with the flow. I don't think he's very he's selfless, but he's not. He, you know, I don't know how I can explain that, but I think I could understand Monet's difficulty working with him. So,
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But let's get into our quick. I think this is going to be, I think this should be our
Can we
last.
spill the tea real quickly on Hugo?
Well, that can go into our spoiler speculations. Hour. So this is our spoiler speculations. David, why don't you spill this tea about Hugo?
So news broke that we have our first claim to fame showmance. I don't even know if it counts as a showmance since it's post show. But we found out that Hugo is dating Olivia from Claim to Fame, which I didn't see coming.
Me neither.
I mean, they hit it well in the show. So
I
maybe
rewatched it, yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the moment I would probably say could possibly be like a moment of spark between them was when she wanted to talk to him when she was going to be a guester. And she was like, I'm talking to you and trying to get, you know, what your thoughts was. So, and she literally was like, I think you're related to Jimmy Carter. And he was like, oh, why would you say that? That's interesting. I think that was a moment that I was like, okay, maybe they like each other. I felt like a couple of people liked each other in the house, but I'm like, this show was not that kind of show.
I was about to say Cole and Shane.
Oh,
for sure.
It would have been so cute.
It would have been cute, but Cole ruined it. He ruined it. He ruined it.
Just one round of safety too.
One round. Like, bye, Cole. You could have had
anyway.
And they clocked you before you left. Like, yeah, he ruined it. He ruined it. But another speculation and spoiler, if you don't want to hear spoilers, bye now. Please don't.
Josh.
Please go. We appreciate you. But
you're welcome to stay if you don't mind.
You guys have said this is spoilers 3 times. I would have left.
Okay.
Just making sure.
Okay.
I appreciate it. But what are the spoilers?
Let's jump into the spoilers. So we know here who everybody is, who's left in the house. We know Carson is Dale Earnhardt Jr. Yep. We know that Chris is related to Donny Osmond. Yep. We know that Gabriel is related to Nick Cannon. Yep. We know that JR is related to Lil Nas X. Yep. Now, Monet is the one I think everybody knows except for Josh. Yeah. And so here on the cup, we feel that Monet is related to JB Smooth. JB Smooth was on Curb Your Enthusiasm. He was also in Barbershop. He is
a writer for Saturday Night
Live. Writer for Saturday Night Live, Curb Your Enthusiasm. If you don't know who JB Smooth is, he is a comedian. You probably, like I said, he's more black famous than white famous. So I feel like more people don't know who he is because he's one of those people who you be like, oh, he's that guy who played on that show who did that thing.
Right. If his face is more recognizable than his name for some people.
Like, oh, I know who he is. So yeah, look him up. You'll see his face and you'll be like, oh, I know who he is. But that is who we feel that Monet is related to. And if you look at her and then you see her daddy, you'll see his face in her. You're like, oh, he looks just like him.
Well,
are you familiar with him, Josh?
Not too. I'm sure I've seen some of his stuff growing up.
If you watch Barbershop 3, he's in Barbershop 3.
I don't think I've seen Barbershop. Barbershop The Next Cut? Is that the one you're talking about?
The one with comment. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I have not seen
That's
Barbershop.
okay. But if you look at a picture of JB Smooth and you see his face, you'll say, "Oh, he's that guy who did that thing. I seen him on something, but I didn't know his name." And that's who I. That is why I was like, Monet has a really good chance with this that people will never guess her. She would have to go out guessing wrong because nobody's going to guess her.
Mm-mm. She might win. Honestly,
She could win.
She could.
I'd be more than okay with that.
I kind of think she's going to get eliminated by guessing wrong because I don't think anybody's guessing her, but I just don't see her winning. Like, she has not gotten a winner's edit for me, but I could be wrong. There's other people that have won shows that have been a little bit low key. What I'm worried for, we're getting pretty close to the finale. If they're doing it the same way they did last time, then they're going to bring back all of these people that have been eliminated, and there's going to be free reign for everybody to talk. There's no way Jane, once she hears some of these clues for Chris, there's no way she's not going to know it's Donny Osmond.
Yes. Oh, I didn't know how. See, I didn't finish Claim to Fame the last season, so I didn't know how the end game worked. But that's interesting. Oh yeah, there's no way Jane's not going to know.
Yeah,
that was who I was
true.
worried about. That's who I was worried about guessing Chris. I was like, if anybody was going to guess Chris, if she stayed longer, it would have been Jane. But the fact that they get to bring him back and get free reign to talk, Chris's numbers might be up because he can share his clues with his people. And I think the person who might know who Gabriel is going to be Cole. If Cole comes back and gets to see the clue, he might can tell him if he wants to tell him.
And they have no obligation to help anybody out, but if they want to help out their friends, they certainly will.
Yeah, and I will say the one person that I think I think is going to be the most difficult to guess from anybody that's been on the show so far, I think is Monet. So I think Monet is in a great position right now. If she can make it to that point, I think she's going to be great. No one's really coming after Monet, and no one really has been.
I think if Monet, I think if Monet gets to see Gabriel's clue and who he is, I think she'll be set because I do think they're going to figure out Chris pretty soon. I do think Gabriel's going to make it pretty far as long as Gabriel doesn't show his clue to many other people. But if Chris was smart, he would definitely show Gabriel's clue to Monet and to JR at this point because Carson was and those two I think would know immediately, especially and I think Shane would know. Shane would know. I think Cole would know.
I think Jane would know. Honestly.
Carly might even know, honestly.
I mean, Travis would know. I think. I
literally think
everybody else
would know. So,
yeah, I think maybe Olivia might not. I don't think she would know. Well, no, Olivia might know because her
There's a connection.
Aunt works with him. Her aunt works with him on The Masked Singer.
Literally,
Olivia would know.
I guess they are just like work people, but I'm surprised. I guess that Olivia didn't. Olivia and
she never saw a clue.
Yeah,
she didn't see the clue.
They were pretty vague clues for we did hear where he was born, and we saw like a drum thing.
And I think everybody was so stuck on the fact that his person was an athlete. They weren't thinking of anything else but an athlete.
Yeah, you're right. She was there with the whole athlete of it all.
So but that's pretty much it for this episode. Like, I still hate that we don't get previews, but whatever. They don't want to give us no previews or nothing. But we'll be back next week to talk about episode 8. We appreciate you, Josh, for joining us this time. We hope to have you back. Y'all know what to do. You're on YouTube. Do all the YouTube things. Hit the likes, the shares, the subscribes, the follows. Please follow us here on the Cup TV. We're looking to get more followers, so we love if you just hit that button, subscribe.
Or your preferred audio platform.
Indeed. And check us out on all of our socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at The Cup Pod because we like to put out stuff on a regular basis, and we're pretty funny people. So check us out. Follow us on Twitter. You see all of our handles down there. We're cool people. We talk about some cool stuff. I know for me, mostly it's Big Brother nowadays. So sorry, but yeah, if you're into it, check us out. Get your merch link at lanagcreations.etsy.com. Get that. And yep, I think that's it, right? Am I doing this? Or are you doing
I
this?
got it. Cheers.
Period. Cheers, y'all. Cheers. Bye.
Bye now.
We need more camera
Bye. So long.
time.
Farewell.
I should have
We
more
need more
camera
camera
time.
time.